Good morning, everyone. My name is Joseph, and I'm in the military, and I'm also a student of University of Maryland. So I'm here because I'm about to give a speech on why and how we should help people with PTSD. But before we move on, I want to introduce my audience.
Hi everyone, I'm Laurentia.
So we're gonna move on and talk about PTSD. And I have a couple of questions. Do you know anybody who's struggling for PTSD, and how and why do you think we should help that person? So, but before then, I wanna define PTSD, or I wanna define PTSD. So I define PTSD as a disorder that develop in people who have experienced traumatic events such as death, abuse, accident, and even people have been to war. PTSD is one of the serious mental issues that is becoming number one in the United States, especially in the veterans and then the veterans who fought in Afghanistan and then Iraq. One of my favorite writer, Kobe, described PTSD described that PTSD is one of the highest one of the highest mental disorder composed of several aspects of psychopathology. Experiencing traumatic event can be stressful and depressing, and that can develop into a PTSD on some degree. So um some PTSD patients don't like to seek for help, and some even don't know that there are some resources out there for them, and due to that they tend to treat their own self as self-medication. But according to my knowledge, according to me, or according to other resources, other research I made, self-medication on PTSD is a bad idea because that might increase the symptoms of PTSD, and that might be something else, because people use alcohol and then hard drugs. That's when they become alcoholic or drug addict, thinking that they're gonna use self-medication, they're gonna use the hard drugs, or they're gonna drink to numb their pains or to forget about the trauma. But I'm just gonna give only three resources, or only three ways we can help people with PTSD in this speech. And the friendly and family support, animal or pet support, and medication. So friend and friends friend family and friends support or involvement in the treatment of PTSD is a great idea, because family and friends are close to the patient, or close to the PTSD, or the victim. So I feel like they should recognize the early stage of the PTSD victim or PTSD symptoms right before the trauma. Family and friends should be the first people to notice the victim, as I said, and they, they should be able to educate them. Like, how can they help the victim? They should be able to educate themselves on PTSD, on the changes in the person right after the trauma. Right, I know definitely there's gonna be different some changes. The person might be the person don't might be isolated him or herself. Don't want to be with people. The person kind of like every little thing the person becomes scared. These are the early symptoms of PTSD, and I feel like all family members and friends should notice that. And I'm gonna go to the next second point: animal or pet support. So the best way of treating and support people with PTSD is animal support. One of the best way. So pets help people with PTSD symptoms such as depression, anxieties, loneliness by providing them comfort and support. So in this case, if the family don't have any idea or have limited idea of supporting or helping people with PTSD, animal support or pet is one of the best thing, because one of the best way to help people with PTSD, because after the trauma, most people don't want to be around people. They just want to be themselves, or they hate being around people. So in this case, the introduction of pet support or introduction of animal support is a great idea. But how can we help people with pet support if we notice that the person don't want to be around people? That's another option we can try. We can give the person our pet, or we can just give the person we can just take the person to animal shelter, or we can even adopt pet for the person. In this case, the pet is not supposed to be trained for emotional stress, or every pet can be a pet. It's most like a special domestic pet, and don't get any aggressive pet. So I know usually dog, people prefer cat, but usually dogs and rabbits and other pig. I'll I'm not gonna encourage to get a snake for PTSD patient, but sometimes because snakes, most of the snakes get aggressive, and sometimes if you think you don't have the money for the help, I will rather get take the person or to the animal shelter, or let the person or give your pet to the person. And third, I'm gonna talk about medication. In this case, medication in this case is not for the treatment of PTSD, but medication in this case is used to minimize or to control the stress and the anxieties of PTSD. So basically, the PTSD symptoms. But as I said earlier on, people prefer self-medication. But self-medication in this case is a bad idea, because I remember last month I had a call to go to someone's house because the person wasn't feeling well and the person was suffering from PTSD. So I went there, and according to a source, she took in her drugs just to stop thinking about her trauma, and which ended up her being in the hospital. He was he smoked what she's not supposed to smoke. She took in some drugs what she's not supposed to take. So that's a perfect example for self-medication, and that's the reason why I said it's a bad idea, because it might end up something else. If I didn't get a call, or if we didn't call 911, the person might take her own life. So in here medication, what we can do is we can take the person to the hospital, or we can take the person to see a specialist, and they have the right resources, and they can prescribe the right medication for the person. And one more thing too, if you decide to take the person to a hospital, and make sure they are taking the right medication, because sometimes people think, or they want to mix the medication, or some people don't even want to take the medication at all, but they want to try something else. But in this case, you have to keep an eye on them, make sure they have the right medication, and they are eating right. They are doing something to better themselves, and that When we do that, I'm sure that we're gonna limit the symptoms of PTSD, and we can bring the PTSD, let me say PTSD war or PTSD fight down a little bit. In my conclusion, I say PTSD can be treated if we have the right resources. The symptoms of PTSD can be limited, and the early stage of PTSD can be limited. There are several ways, or there are several help centers to help people with PTSD. So I wrote a couple of help centers that help people with PTSD, and that's their main job of helping people with PTSD. And even though if they don't have that resources, they can recommend you to go to different help center, and there are a lot of help center all around United States, especially like communities. They have at least 2 help centers, and the most common help center I would say, like those who have experienced PTSD and have able to overcome, they are the best people to talk to because at least they already have knowledge about it. So here I will give some few examples of help centers. National Center for PTSD. National Center for PTSD, oh, that's all they do. They help people with PTSD. They have all the resources. They have therapists and all that in the health center. And that National Health Center, they are everywhere in the United States. If you Google, you can get the information. If you go online, tap in there, you can get the information, all that. And if they are 24 hours hotline, if you call them, they're gonna give you all the information. And another one, I have a National Institute of Mental Health. They do the same thing as National Health Center, National Center for PTSD. They also have 24 hours hotline. And again, we have National Suicide Prevention, 24 hours hotline. You go online, you Google, you get all the information. And my favorite is Military One Source. Military One Source, they have all the resources. If you have every question, they don't Military One Source don't deal with only PTSD. They deal with other health issues too, and they deal with financial issues and all that. So if you call them, if you want more information about what is going on, they are there to help. And that concludes my speech, and I hope you learned something from this speech, and I hope you guys, once I bring my conclusion to an end, I hope you guys will be able to help people with PTSD and provide them the resources, and maybe you can do the basic support. You can give out the basic support you've learned from this speech. Thank you.